In the last two lectures, we discussed the origins of international investment law and its evolution up to 1914. In this lecture, we will see how international investment law evolved during the interwar period, that is between 1914 and 1945, and we'll also have a look at the evolution in the post-war period. There are two notable developments during this period. The first is the Lena Goldfields arbitration, and the second development is the Mexican nationalization and its fallout. In Lena Goldfields' case, a concession for gold mine was held by an English company. The concession was repudiated by Soviet Russia in 1929. Therefore, the English company commenced arbitration against Soviet Russia. Although Soviet Russia initially participated in the proceedings, it withdrew thereafter within 3 months and instructed its nominee arbitrator not to participate in further proceedings. 4 months thereafter, the tribunal passed the arbitral award. Note that this time, the arbitral tribunal consisted of the chairman, Dr. Otto Stutzer, and Sir Leslie Scott, the nominee of Lena Goldfields. Interestingly, the chairman, who was jointly appointed by the parties, was not a lawyer, but a professor in fuel geology at the Freiburg School of Mines. It is rare these days to see the chairman or the presiding arbitrator being a non-lawyer. The Lena Award was originally in German, but the tribunal also published a version translated in English. The Lena Award is significant for two reasons. First is that it provides one of the earliest examples of how a truncated arbitral tribunal could deal with the arbitration. Second, the award is one of the earliest examples of application of the general principle of international law recognized by civilized nations. This is by reference to Article 38(1)(c) of the Statute of the Permanent Court of International Justice. In the Lena Award, the principle recognized was compensation for unjust enrichment. This award has been prominently cited even today in cases relating to compensation for nationalization. For those who wanting to know more about this arbitration, please read Reader's article titled The Lena Goldfields Arbitration, The Historical Roots of Three Ideas, published in volume 47 of the International and Comparative Law Quarterly, published in 1998. It is of interest to note that the Statute of the Permanent Court of International Justice retains the phrase the general principles of law recognized by civilized nations, even today, where the colonial distinction between civilized and uncivilized has virtually disappeared. The next prominent development during the interwar period is the Mexican nationalization. This happened in 1938 when Mexico nationalized the oil resources through Petróleos Mexicanos, a public sector company of Mexico. Countries such as the US, UK, and the Netherlands boycotted Mexico, but the disputes were resolved owing to the Second World War. Those who watched the previous videos on the series would recollect the Hull formula. The Hull formula emerged in the context of communications regarding the Mexican nationalization. Now, coming to the post war period, we can see that international investment law evolved in terms of four phases according to the World Investment Report 2015. The first phase, which is the era of infancy, saw the emergence of international investment agreements. It began after the Second World War and continued till 1964. This phase is characterized by weak protection to investors and absence of any investor-state dispute settlement system. The era of infancy saw several developments such as the signing of the GATT, that is the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, in 1947, the treaty establishing the European Economic Community in 1957, the New York Convention on Recognition and Enforcement of Foreign Arbitral Awards in 1958. New York Convention is one of the most successful international instruments, having signatories more than 155 countries. This phase also saw the signing of the first BIT between Germany and Pakistan in 1959 and also the UN Resolution on Permanent Sovereignty over Natural Resources in 1962. The second phase is the era of dichotomy, spanning from 1965 to 1989, and the third phase is the era of proliferation from 1990 to 2007. The fourth phase is the era of reorientation from 2008 and is going on till date. More on the second and the later phases in another lecture.